Have you ever felt like your own mind is the only thing keeping you trapped? You sit there. Late at night, you replay every word, every silence, every look they gave you before they walked away. Your chest feels tight, not from anger, from something worse, confusion. Because your heart keeps whispering something your brain refuses to accept. They are coming back, but you don't trust that whisper anymore. You've been hurt too many times. You've waited, you've hoped, you've watched your phone like it owes you an answer. And nothing, just silence, heavy silence. So you start to doubt yourself. Maybe you were never enough. Maybe love doesn't work for people like you. Maybe they moved on the second they closed the door. Stop right there. That doubt is not yours to carry. It was given to you by someone who never learned how to stay, by someone whose heart runs away the moment things get real. That person is not a monster. They are just broken in a way you cannot fix. And the silence you fear? It is not rejection. It is a timeline, a psychological timeline that every avoidant person follows before they realize what they lost. Most people will tell you to move on, forget them, burn the bridge. And that advice sounds strong, but it skips one important truth. You cannot heal what you do not understand, and you cannot move forward if a part of you is still waiting for an answer. So let me give you something different today. Not false hope, not fairy tales, but the real psychological map of what happens inside your avoidant ex from the moment they leave to the moment they feel the urge to return. By the end of this video, you will not be waiting anymore. You will not be guessing. You will know exactly where they are in their emotional process. You will see their silence for what it really is. And most importantly, you will get back something you lost long before they left: your peace. That is the reward I am offering you today. Not a reconciliation guarantee, not a magic spell to make them text you, but the quiet, unshakable power of knowing, and once you know, you never beg for love again. Let's begin. The first thing you must understand is this: an avoidant person does not leave because they stopped loving you. They leave because they got scared, not of you, of themselves, of the feeling that someone actually sees them, someone actually needs them, someone actually expects something real. That expectation feels like a cage to them. Why? Because psychology tells us that avoidant attachment is built in childhood, not as a choice, as a survival mechanism. They learned very early that showing emotions leads to pain, crying leads to neglect, asking for love leads to rejection. So their brain rewired itself. It decided that safety means distance, love means control, and vulnerability means danger. So when you got close, when you asked for more, when you wanted to talk about feelings, their nervous system triggered a warning, not because you did something wrong, because their body remembered a pain you never caused, and they ran. But here is what nobody tells you. The moment they run, something strange happens inside them. They don't feel relief, at least not for long. The first few days after a breakup feel like freedom to an avoidant. No texts to answer, no emotions to manage, no one expecting them to show up emotionally. They breathe, they smile, they tell themselves they made the right choice. That is phase 1, the relief phase. It usually lasts 1 to 3 weeks. During this time, you are hurting, you are crying, you are checking their social media, and they are out there living like nothing happened. That hurts to hear, I know, but stay with me, because relief is never permanent for an avoidant. It is a bandage on a deep wound, and bandages always fall off. Phase 2 begins when the relief starts to fade. This happens around week 3 or 4. Their brain slowly realizes something. The chaos is gone, but so is the warmth. The argument stopped, but so did the laughter. The pressure is gone, but so is the person who knew their coffee order, the one who laughed at their stupid jokes, the one who stayed even when they pushed them away. This is where psychology gets interesting. The avoidant brain is not cold. It is confused. It pushed you away to feel safe. But safety without connection feels like emptiness. And emptiness is worse than fear. So their mind starts doing something it never expected. It starts remembering. Not the fights, not the pressure, but the small things. The way you held their hand, the way you looked at them when they weren't performing, the way your voice sounded when you said their name. They try to stop these memories. They distract themselves, work, gym, new people, short conversations with no depth. But the memories don't care about distractions. They come back at night, on Sundays, when they are driving alone, when a song plays that you used to sing together, and that is when phase 3 begins. The curiosity phase. They start wondering about you, not because they want to hurt you, because their brain is trying to solve a puzzle. How are you doing? Are you moving on? Have you found someone new? Have you forgotten them? These questions terrify them because an avoidant person's biggest fear is not intimacy. It is irrelevance. They need to know they mattered, even if they couldn't show it. So they check. Silently. Secretly. They look at your story. They ask a mutual friend. They search your name. They do this not to come back, but to calm their own anxiety, to confirm you are still there, still waiting, still theirs in some invisible way. Most people never see this phase because the avoidant hides it perfectly. They seem cold online, distant in person, but inside a quiet war is happening. One part of them wants to reach out. Another part is terrified of being rejected after they were the one who left. And here is the emotional trap. If you reach out during this phase, you reset their entire timeline. Because the moment you chase them, their fear disappears. You prove you are still there, still waiting, still available. And that removes their curiosity. Their brain relaxes. And they pull away again. Not because they are evil, because you solved their anxiety for them. And without anxiety, they have no reason to grow. That is why silence is your power, not to punish them, to let their own mind do the work you could never force. Phase 4 is the hardest for them. The longing phase. This starts around week 6 to 8, sometimes longer depending on how deep the connection was. In this phase, the avoidant stops distracting. They stop running, not because they chose to, because their body is exhausted from running. They start to feel the void, not dramatically, not with tears and poetry, but with a quiet, heavy ache. Everything feels dull. Food tastes bland. Success feels empty. Other people feel boring, because no one else had your specific energy. No one else laughed at the same things. No one else made them feel safe enough to almost let their guard down. This is the phase where they start romanticizing the past. They forget the fights. They forget the pressure. They only remember the good moments. The way you made them feel seen. The way you didn't give up on them for so long. Their brain rewrites history to make you the one who got away. And now a dangerous shift happens. They start to believe you are the one who left, even though they walked away first. This is psychological reversal. Their mind cannot handle being the villain, so it flips the story. You became distant, you didn't understand them, you pushed them away, and they had to leave to protect themselves. It is not true, but it feels true to them, and feelings are facts to a wounded mind. So what happens next? Do they come back? Yes, some do, but not the way you expect. Not with a grand apology, not with flowers and promises. They come back carefully, slowly, testing the water, a like on an old photo, a message about something random, a question that sounds casual but isn't. They are not back yet. They are checking if the door is still open. This is phase 5, the testing phase. They will not say, "I miss you" directly. That is too vulnerable. Instead, they will ask how you are. They will send a meme. They will reply to your story. Small moves, deniable moves. If you react too fast, too excited, too available, they will retreat again. Because their fear of engulfment wakes back up. They came to check, not to commit. But if you stay calm, if you respond but don't chase, if you show you are fine without them, but not angry at them, something shifts. Their fear lowers. Their curiosity grows. And for the first time, they feel safe enough to consider coming back. Not because you begged, because you didn't. Now, here is the truth. Most motivational videos will not tell you. Even if they come back, the old version of them is not coming, because the person who left is not the same person who returns. The timeline changes people. The silence changes people. The loss changes people. They will come back more scared, more guarded, but also more aware, more awake, more willing to try, but only if you used their absence to grow. Not wait, because here is the deeper motivation. The one psychology hides in plain sight. You do not want them back. You want the version of them that finally chooses you without running. And that version only exists if you become the person who no longer needs them to choose you. That is the secret timeline. Not theirs, yours. The moment you stop asking, will they come back, and start asking, have I become someone who no longer needs an answer? Everything changes. Your energy shifts, your confidence returns, your fear disappears, and that version of you, That version is irresistible, not just to your ex, to everyone. So here's your reward for staying till the end of this section. The real reason avoidants come back is not because they miss you. It is because they miss the person they almost became when they were with you. You were their closest shot at healing, and their silence was never rejection. It was just their fear wearing a mask. Now you see the mask. Now you see the timeline. Now you see the truth, and the truth will not make you wait anymore. It will make you walk forward, with or without them. You just learned the phases: relief, curiosity, longing, testing. But knowing the phases is not enough, because your mind still has one question, the one that keeps you up at night. What if they never come back? That question feels heavy. Let me lighten it. The fear of them not returning is not about them. It is about you. It is about the part of you that tied your worth to their return. Psychology calls this external validation. You need their action to prove your value. If they come back, you matter. If they stay gone, you were never enough. That is a trap. A beautiful, common, human trap. But still a trap. Here is what you must understand. Avoidants do not operate on your emotional clock. They operate on their fear clock. And fear does not follow logic. Fear follows patterns, old patterns, deep patterns, patterns from childhood, from past heartbreaks, from every time they opened up and got burned. So when you ask, will they come back, you are asking the wrong question. The right question is this: what emotional state must they reach inside themselves before returning is even possible? Let me answer that. Return is only possible when their fear of losing you forever becomes greater than their fear of being trapped by you. That is the psychological tipping point. Not love, not missing you. Fear. Pure fear of permanent loss. That fear does not grow because you chase. It grows because you stay gone, because your silence becomes louder than their excuses, because your absence starts to feel permanent. And permanence terrifies an avoidant more than intimacy. Think about this. An avoidant person spends their whole life running from closeness, but they also spend their whole life making sure the door never fully closes. They need you to be available, but not demanding. Present, but not pressuring. Close, but not inside their walls. When you disappear completely, you take away their safety net. No more checking on you from a distance, no more knowing you are still waiting, no more comfort that they can come back whenever they want. That comfort was their addiction, and you just became the dealer who walked away. Now their brain enters a crisis state, not because they love you more now, because their system of control broke. You are no longer predictable, no longer available, no longer a backup plan, and that uncertainty forces their mind to do something painful. Reevaluate. They start asking themselves questions they never asked before. Why did I leave someone who actually cared? What if I made a mistake? What if I am the problem? These questions are terrifying for an avoidant, because they threaten the one belief that kept them safe. I left because you were too much. Now that belief cracks, and through that crack, reality seeps in. The reality is this: you were never too much. You were just asking for basic human connection. The same connection any healthy relationship needs. The same connection they secretly crave but cannot name. The same connection their parents never gave them. So when you asked for it, their body reacted like you were asking for their blood. Not because you were wrong, because you were the first person brave enough to demand real love. And that bravery scared them. Now fast forward. Weeks have passed, maybe months. Their distractions stopped working. Their new hobbies feel empty. Their short-term connections feel like eating paper when you are starving for a real meal. And one night, alone, they feel it, not sadness, regret. Regret is different from sadness. Sadness is passive. Regret is active. Regret says, I did something, I chose something, and it was wrong. That is the hardest emotion for an avoidant to feel, because regret requires accountability, and accountability requires facing the version of themselves they have been running from their whole life. That night, they don't sleep well. They think about you, not the idealized version of you they created after the breakup. The real you, the one who showed up, the one who tried, the one who stayed longer than anyone ever did. And for the first time, they do not blame you. They blame themselves. This is the turning point, not their apology, their self-blame. Because self-blame leads to action. Action leads to reaching out. Not perfectly, not smoothly, but honestly, a text, a call, a long message sent at 2 a.m. It will not be perfectly worded. It will be messy, hesitant, fragile, but it will be real. Now here is where most people destroy everything. They see that message, their heart races, their hands shake, and they reply immediately. They pour out every feeling they saved for months. They ask why, they ask how, they ask when, and that flood of emotion does the opposite of what they want. It scares the avoidant again, because an avoidant person can handle a door that is open. They cannot handle a door that is ripped off its hinges. They came to check, not to be consumed. So when you respond with months of stored pain, their fear wakes back up, and they pull away again, sometimes slower, sometimes crueler, but always away. That is the cruelest trick of this timeline. You wait for months. They finally reach out, and one wrong move pushes them back into silence. So what is the right move? Right. The right move is calm, not cold, not angry, not overeager, just calm. You acknowledge their message. You do not ignore them, but you also do not act like they just brought you back to life. You respond like someone who has been living, growing, breathing, someone who is happy to hear from them, but does not need them to survive. Psychology calls this emotional neutrality. It is not pretending. It is protection for both of you. Neutrality lowers their fear. It says, I am not here to trap you. I am not here to punish you. I am just here, the same way I have always been. Present without pressure. That neutrality creates safety. And safety is the only environment where an avoidant person can finally let their guard down. Not because you force them, because you stop trying to force anything. Now let me give you a deeper truth, one most people never realize. The timeline your avoidant ex follows is not about them coming back to you. It is about them finally coming back to themselves. The person they abandoned years ago. The child who learned to stop crying because no one came. The teenager who pretended not to care because caring hurt too much. The adult who left you because staying felt like dying. Their return to you is just a side effect of their return to themselves. That is why chasing never works. You cannot chase someone into self-awareness. You cannot text someone into healing. You cannot love someone into facing their own shadow. That work is theirs alone. And the only thing you control is whether you are still there when they finish. But here is the motivational question you must ask yourself. Do you want to be there? Not because you are desperate, not because you have nothing else, but because you chose to. Because after all the silence and all the pain and all the waiting, you still see something worth staying for. Not their potential, their reality. The flawed, frightened, beautiful person underneath the walls. If the answer is yes, then your job is not to wait. Your job is to grow, because the version of you that waited is not the version they need. They need the version that learned to be okay alone. The version that found peace in the silence. The version that no longer needs their return to feel whole. That version is magnetic, not because you are trying, because you stopped trying. And here is the final layer, the one psychology whispers but rarely shouts. Even if they never come back, the timeline still worked for you, because you used their absence to build yourself. You used the silence to hear your own voice. You used the heartbreak to break open the parts of you that were settling for less. You became someone who no longer needs closure from others because you closed the door yourself. That is the real reward, not their return, your return to yourself. So stop counting the days since they left. Start counting the ways you have grown. Stop asking if they miss you. Start asking if you miss the person you were before you knew them. Stop waiting for a message that may never come. Start living a life that no message could ever disturb. That is the timeline that matters, yours. And once you truly live there, something magical happens. You stop caring whether they come back. Not because you are bitter, because you are full of your own life, your own purpose, your own peace. And from that fullness, if they return, you can love them without losing yourself. And if they don't, you can walk away without breaking. That is emotional freedom. That is the deepest motivation. Now you know the timeline. Now you know the truth. Now the only question left is not about them. It is about you. What will you build today while they are still figuring out what they lost? Go build it.